The text message ignited my phone's screen, a single cruel sentence that threatened to burn down our evening. Do not bring that outsider. My gaze drifted to my 11-year-old daughter, Lily, who was clutching a dress shimmering with every color imaginable and a meticulously handmade card. In that instant, I understood that the night ahead was no longer about celebrating an engagement. It was about to become a battleground for the very definition of family. I tried to inhale slowly, to calm the tremor in my hands, but when I looked back at Lily, her face radiant with pride over her carefully wrapped gift, a fierce resolve hardened within me. I had to protect that light, no matter the cost. Lily, my sweet daughter, was standing in the kitchen, proudly showing me the outfit she had chosen. I'm so excited for Aunt Chloe's engagement party tomorrow. We had officially adopted her just 4 months prior, and she was still navigating that delicate phase of trying to prove her place, making family gatherings incredibly significant for her. She had just put the finishing touches on the gift wrap for the happy couple when my phone chimed with that fateful message. It was from Cynthia, my sister-in-law. Do not bring that outsider to the engagement party. This is for real family only, not some random charity case you picked up to feel good about yourselves. The words were laced with a venom that made me physically recoil. Before I could shield the screen, Lily's eyes had already found the words. That's about me, isn't it? Her small voice was fragile and her lower lip began to tremble. I tried to angle the phone away, but the damage was done. She had seen it all. I'm an outsider. Her words were now punctuated by sniffles. A charity case. The first tears began to trace paths down her cheeks. I'm not real family. She was on the verge of a full breakdown, but everyone hugged me at Christmas. They do love you. I tried so hard to be good for you. The weeping was uncontrollable now. I saved my allowance for 3 weeks for their present. I thought if I got them something nice. Her sentence trailed off, lost in a sob. Am I going back to foster care? That question shattered me. I pulled her into a fierce, all-encompassing mom embrace. Listen to me very carefully. You are never, ever going back. We are going to that party. Cynthia does not get to decide who is family and who is not, but she said I don't belong. Then we'll make you belong so perfectly that she won't be able to say a single word. I gently wiped away her tears. Do you still want to wear the sparkly outfit you picked out? A tiny spark returned to her eyes. The one with all the rainbows. Every single rainbow, I promised. I immediately took a screenshot of the text and sent it to my husband. He was downstairs in seconds. His jaw clenched so tight I thought it might break. He knelt down to Lily's level. Cynthia said that about you? She could only nod. Well, Cynthia is about to get a very important lesson on what happens when you mess with our daughter. Lily's eyes widened at the powerful declaration of the word daughter. My phone began to ring. Go get your sparkly outfit, I told her. We're going to add even more to it. It was my sister, Chloe, the bride-to-be. Mom just forwarded me Cynthia's text. I'm absolutely livid. Put me on speakerphone. I did. Lily, honey, I need you at my party more than ever. In fact, I have a very special job for you. You're going to help me with something top secret. Lily's face broke into a watery smile. Really, really. And you had better wear your most spectacular outfit. As Lily was trying on her dress, another text from Cynthia arrived. Just confirming you received my previous message. I will assume she will not be attending. I ignored it. A moment later, my mother-in-law called. I saw Cynthia's texts. That woman may have married my son, but she has never been family in the way Lily is. Lily overheard her. Grandma said I'm family. Sweetheart, you've been family since the very first day. The rebellion was spreading. My teenage nephew, Cynthia's own son, sent me a message. Mom's being really weird about Lily. Just so you know, I'm wearing a matching sparkly bow tie tomorrow. Cynthia's own children were turning against her. We made a swift trip to the store for more accessories, glittery platform shoes, diamond-shaped hair clips, and a purse encrusted with rhinestones. "Is this too much?" Lily asked, a hint of mischief in her voice. "It's absolutely perfect." "Cynthia is going to lose her mind," I told her. She grinned. "Good." That evening, Lily prepared a second gift, a huge, hand-decorated card filled with congratulations and stickers for every single person in the family. Cynthia tried calling my husband, but we let it go to voicemail. I'm not trying to be cruel, but tomorrow is about Chloe, not your little charity project. I'm just thinking of Chloe's happiness. The family group chat suddenly exploded when Chloe made an announcement. Everyone wear something sparkly tomorrow, even if it's just a sock to match our Lily. Cynthia immediately replied to the group, "That's really not necessary." Chloe's response was swift. "Yes, it is." Lily, practicing her walk in her new platforms, asked, "What if Cynthia tries to block the door?" "Then we will go right through her," my husband answered without hesitation. "But what if—" "No what ifs, you belong there with us." The next morning, Lily got into her full outfit. "Do I look like I belong? You look like you own the entire place." In the car, she clutched both her gifts. "Mom, what if nobody else wore sparkles? They will. What if Cynthia says something mean to me? Then everyone there will see exactly who she truly is." We pulled up to the venue. Just as we'd feared, Cynthia was stationed at the entrance like a belligerent guard. Her expression shifted from smug confidence to pure volcanic rage as she saw Lily, a walking, glittering rainbow of defiance. But before a single word could escape her lips, Chloe burst through the doors in her engagement dress. Lily, my special helper. She rushed over and swept Lily into a giant hug. "You look absolutely perfect." "Come on, we have important work to do." Cynthia's mouth hung open, but Chloe had already whisked Lily inside. The scene inside was breathtaking. The entire family was there, and every single person was adorned in sparkles. Grandparents wore glittery bow ties. Aunts were draped in sequined scarves, and even Cynthia's own children sported rhinestone belts and hair clips. The newest member of our family. Cynthia stood frozen as her own children ran to embrace Lily. "We love your outfit. You look like a human disco ball," her teenage son cheered. "This is our cousin Lily, everyone." During the toasts, Chloe raised her glass. "Before we celebrate my engagement, I need my special helper." She pulled Lily up to stand beside her. "This incredible girl joined our family 6 months ago and made it absolutely complete. Lily, will you be my flower girl?" The room erupted in applause. Lily's hands flew to her mouth in shock. Cynthia's face was a shade of deep purple. As Lily handed Chloe the family card she had made, Chloe nearly burst into tears. "It's perfect," she whispered. "This is going right in our wedding album." Cynthia tried to interject, but Chloe's fiancé cut her off, his voice booming, "This is what family does." Just then, Cynthia stood up, clutching a sheaf of papers, and began to stride toward the center of the room. She cleared her throat with an aggressive rasp. Cynthia raised her arm high, the papers held tight in her fist. "Everyone needs to hear this." The room fell silent as every guest turned to face her. Lily's small hand gripped mine with enough force to break my fingers. "I have documentation right here proving adoption fraud, proving that this child does not legally belong in our family." Cynthia waved the papers triumphantly. as if they were a winning lottery ticket. A low murmur spread through the room, with guests glancing between us and Cynthia. My heart hammered against my ribs, but before I could formulate a response, Chloe was storming across the room in her beautiful gown. She closed the distance to Cynthia in 3 long strides and snatched the papers directly from her grasp. The sharp sound of tearing paper echoed in the silent room as Chloe ripped them to shreds without even looking at them. Anyone who does not support every single member of this family can leave right now. Chloe threw the torn pieces into the air, and they fluttered down around them like bitter confetti. Cynthia's face contorted with rage, and she started screaming about evidence, legal guardians, and the fact that we were not Lily's biological parents. My husband stepped forward, moving past me to confront Cynthia directly. "You need to leave this party immediately." His voice was dangerously calm, but his hands were shaking with suppressed fury. Cynthia shrieked that she had proof, that everyone deserved to know the truth about our supposed illegal adoption. Her husband, Mark, finally pushed through the crowd, looking like he wished the floor would swallow him whole. "Cynthia, please, let's just go." He reached for her arm, but she tore it away, still yelling about lawyers and documents. Mark turned to face the room, his face burning with shame. "I'm so sorry about this, everyone." He tried to guide Cynthia toward the exit by her elbow, but she shoved him away. Just then, Claire Monroe, the venue manager, appeared, flanked by 2 imposing security guards. She approached Cynthia with a professional smile that held no warmth. "Ma'am, you are causing a disturbance at a private event. I need you to leave voluntarily in the next 2 minutes, or these gentlemen will escort you out." Cynthia stared at the security guards, then back at Claire, but remained frozen in place. That's when her own teenage son stood up from his table. "I'm staying at the party with my cousin, Lily." He marched directly past his mother and enveloped Lily in a massive hug. His younger siblings immediately got up and ran to join the hug, leaving Cynthia standing utterly alone by the exit. My mother-in-law then rose from her seat and walked slowly toward Cynthia. She stopped directly in front of her and spoke in a voice just loud enough for the whole room to hear. "I am ashamed of your behavior today. Lily has been my granddaughter for 6 months, and your prejudice will never change that." Cynthia's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, but no words came out. She snatched her purse and stomped toward the door. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer about this illegal adoption." She slammed the door so hard the entire room seemed to shake. Mark remained behind, his shoulders slumped and his face still crimson. "I'll handle my wife. I promise." He looked at me and then at Lily. "I'm so sorry." Chloe took the microphone from the DJ booth. "All right, everyone. Now it's time for my special flower girl to help me cut the celebration cake." She held out her hand to Lily. "Come on up here where everyone can see you." Lily looked to me for permission, and I nodded. She walked up to the stage where Chloe was waiting. As Lily stood beside Chloe next to the enormous cake, the entire room began to cheer and clap. People were taking photos and calling out compliments on how beautiful she looked in her sparkling dress. After the cake cutting, Lily looked like she was about to collapse from the emotional overload, so I guided her to the venue's quiet prep area. The moment we were inside with the door locked, she burst into racking sobs. Her entire body shook as she cried into my shoulder. "Can Cynthia really take me away?" The words were barely audible between her gasps. "What if she has real papers? What if the adoption wasn't done right?" I held her as tightly as I could without hurting her. "Listen to me, my love. Cynthia has zero power over our family. The adoption is completely legal and it is final. Nobody can ever take you away from us." She continued to cry, her fears spilling out in a torrent of what-if questions about lawyers, judges, and foster care. I just held her, repeating over and over that she was ours forever, and nothing Cynthia could do would ever change that. Her sparkly dress was getting crumpled from how hard she was pressing against me, but I couldn't have cared less. We stayed in that prep room for what felt like an eternity as she cried out all the fear and anxiety from the confrontation. I could hear the party music through the walls, but all that mattered in that moment was making sure Lily knew she was safe, loved, and permanently home. Chloe slipped into the prep room, holding a small silver box that gleamed under the lights. She knelt beside Lily and opened it to reveal a crystal tiara adorned with tiny rhinestone flowers. Without a word, she gently placed it on Lily's head, adjusting it so it sat perfectly with her dazzling outfit. Lily's eyes widened as she touched the tiara with trembling fingers, and Chloe pulled her into a long, comforting hug. I watched them embrace as the muffled party music played on. I heard Chloe whisper something about family being about choosing to love each other, and Lily just nodded into her shoulder. A knock on the door came, and Mark stepped inside, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. He asked if he could speak with us alone, and though the room was cool, I could see beads of sweat on his forehead. Chloe gave Lily one last squeeze before telling her to go show everyone her new tiara. Lily walked out slowly, still touching the gems on her head as if in a daze. Mark closed the door behind her and leaned against it, his shoulders slumping in defeat. He began to explain how Cynthia had been struggling to adopt for 2 years with no success, and how seeing us with Lily had triggered an intense, irrational jealousy. His voice cracked as he admitted he should have stopped her much sooner, but he had kept hoping she would come to her senses on her own. I wanted to be furious with him, but he looked so utterly broken standing there, apologizing again and again. We eventually returned to the party, where Lily was immediately surrounded by relatives wanting to admire her tiara and tell her how beautiful she looked. Lily's smile grew wider and more genuine as the photographer kept pulling her aside for photos with different family members. Grandma made sure to get a picture with just the two of them, proudly wearing their matching glittery accessories. Cynthia's children stuck close to Lily for the rest of the night, acting as a small, protective honor guard against the memory of their absent mother. Lily wore her tiara for the remainder of the party, even as we ate cake and danced. That night, Lily appeared in our bedroom doorway, clutching her favorite stuffed bear, and asked if she could sleep with us. She climbed into the middle of our bed and curled up between us, her back pressed against my chest. My husband reached over and took her hand as she asked again if Cynthia could really take her away. We spent hours talking in the dark, reassuring her that she was stuck with us for good and that no piece of paper or angry person could ever change that. She finally fell asleep holding both of our hands, but woke up twice, crying from nightmares about lawyers and courtrooms. Each time, we repeated the reassurances and held her until she calmed enough to sleep again. The next morning, while I was making breakfast, my phone rang. It was Mark, and he sounded exhausted. He told me Cynthia had spent the entire night on her laptop, researching adoption laws and printing out articles about contested adoptions. He was trying to reason with her, but he wanted us to be aware that she wasn't letting go of her misguided crusade. I hung up and immediately called the lawyer who had handled Lily's adoption 6 months earlier. When I explained the situation with Cynthia, she actually chuckled and assured me there was absolutely nothing a sister-in-law could do to challenge an already finalized adoption. She offered to draft a formal letter if it became necessary, but reiterated that Cynthia had no legal standing whatsoever. While I was on the phone, our family group chat was lighting up with messages from guests at the party. Cousins and aunts were posting pictures of themselves with Lily, all decked out in their glitter, and writing about how happy they were to have her in the family. Someone posted a video of Lily receiving her tiara, and it quickly accumulated dozens of heart emojis and comments about how precious she was. Cynthia must have been seeing the posts, because she created a new, separate group chat, excluding us and anyone who had defended Lily. She tried to spread rumors that we were hiding something about the adoption, and that she was only acting out of concern for Lily's welfare. Only 2 distant cousins responded, and both of them told her to drop it and stop making trouble. Mark sent me screenshots of Cynthia's messages, and I could see the growing desperation in her texts. After 3 days of relative quiet, I received a call from Lily's school counselor while I was at work. She told me Lily had suffered a panic attack during her social studies class when the teacher mentioned lawyers as part of a lesson on government. Lily had started crying uncontrollably and couldn't catch her breath, and they had to take her to the nurse's office. Lily kept asking the counselor if lawyers could take kids away from their parents, and nothing they said seemed to calm her down. I left work immediately and found Lily still in the nurse's office, her eyes red and swollen, her glittery purse clutched in her lap. The moment she saw me, she threw herself into my arms and refused to let go, even as I tried to sign her out. The entire drive home was filled with questions about what would happen if Cynthia hired a lawyer, and if a judge could make her go back to foster care. That afternoon, I started calling therapists who specialized in adoption trauma and family conflict. A receptionist at one office told me about a woman named Evelyn Ma, who was supposedly wonderful with children and had an opening later that week. I booked the first available appointment and started writing down a timeline of everything that had happened so I wouldn't forget any important details. For the rest of the day, Lily shadowed me around the house, as if she were afraid I might vanish if she looked away. While I was in the kitchen making Lily a snack, my phone buzzed with a text from Chloe. She informed me that she was officially removing Cynthia from the wedding guest list unless she gave Lily a sincere, immediate apology. She had also spoken with the venue management about hiring extra security in case Cynthia tried to crash the wedding. I showed the text to Lily, and her eyes widened as she read it, realizing that Aunt Chloe was choosing her over Cynthia. 20 minutes later, our doorbell rang. It was Mark, holding a large bouquet of flowers and wearing the most apologetic expression I'd ever seen. He knelt down to Lily's level and offered her the flowers, telling her how sorry he was for not stopping his wife sooner. He promised he was going to get Cynthia into counseling and asked if, eventually, we could all work on fixing things. Lily accepted the flowers, but stayed pressed against my leg, not quite ready to trust him completely. Mark stayed for an hour, mostly sitting in silence as Lily showed him her school projects from across the room. He kept repeating his apologies every few minutes until my husband finally told him that we'd heard him and that we all needed time. After Mark left, my mother-in-law called to announce she was hosting a special dinner for everyone who had supported Lily. She made it clear Cynthia was not invited, and that the whole point was to show Lily just how many family members were in her corner. She had already ordered Lily's favorite foods from 3 different restaurants for the dinner that weekend. That Friday night, we walked into Grandma's house to a crowd of cousins, aunts, uncles, and family friends. Every single person had brought a card for Lily, filled with messages about how much they loved having her in the family. Cynthia's own children had made the biggest card of all, covered in glitter, with the words "best cousin" ever written across the front. Lily sat in the middle of the living room floor, opening card after card as happy tears streamed down her face. Her teenage cousin read his card aloud, declaring that Lily was the coolest thing to happen to their family in years. The younger kids then piled on top of her in a giant cousin hug that quickly turned into a tickle fight. We took so many pictures that night, and Lily asked if we could frame every single card for her bedroom wall. On Monday morning, a certified letter from a law firm arrived, and my blood ran cold. Cynthia had sent a formal cease and desist order, claiming we were alienating her children from their mother. The letter demanded we stop allowing her kids to see Lily and accused us of poisoning them against her. Within minutes of me reading it, Mark called, sounding absolutely horrified by what his wife had done. He had already called the lawyer to retract the entire thing and was on his way to the law office in person. 2 hours later, he texted us a picture of the lawyer's response to Cynthia. The lawyer had billed her for 3 hours of wasted time and formally dropped her as a client. He wrote that she had no legal basis to take action against us concerning a legally adopted child. According to Mark, Cynthia had thrown a tantrum in the lawyer's office and had to be escorted out by building security. Lily's first session with Evelyn Ma, the therapist, was that Thursday. I sat in the waiting room for an hour, trying not to pace a hole in the carpet. When Lily came out, she was smiling and holding a worksheet with breathing exercises Evelyn had taught her. She demonstrated one of the visualization techniques right there in the waiting room, closing her eyes and breathing deeply. Evelyn explained that Lily could use these exercises anytime she felt scared or anxious about Cynthia. That night before bed, I watched Lily diligently practice each exercise, counting her breaths and picturing herself in a safe place. She had chosen our living room on movie night for her visualization, with all of us cuddled together on the couch. The next day, we sat down with Lily to create a safety plan in case Cynthia ever confronted her. We wrote down all the important phone numbers on a card for her glittery purse, my number, her dad's, Grandma's, and even 911. We role-played what she would say, and do if Cynthia ever showed up at school or a park. Lily practiced shouting for help and running to the nearest trusted adult, her confidence growing with each practice run. She started carrying that card in her purse everywhere, checking for it each morning before school like a tiny security blanket. On Saturday morning, Chloe picked Lily up for a special girls' day to shop for flower girl dresses. They went to 5 different boutiques, trying on every style imaginable. Lily sent me pictures from each dressing room, twirling in poofy gowns and making funny faces. They finally found the perfect dress in a small shop, a white dress with subtle rainbow ribbon trim that made Lily squeal with pure joy. Chloe bought matching shoes and a new tiara, and even a backup dress just in case. They came home laden with shopping bags, and Lily modeled the entire outfit for us at least 3 times. That evening, as I was scrolling through social media, I saw a long, rambling post from Cynthia about fake families. She didn't use our names, but it was clearly about us, talking about people who adopt children for social media attention and virtue signaling. Within an hour, multiple family members had reported the post for harassment and hate speech. Screenshots of it started flying around our family group chat as everyone voiced their disgust. The post was gone within 2 hours, either deleted by Cynthia or removed by the platform. Mark texted to say he had seen the post and was moving into the guest room until Cynthia agreed to get serious help. He texted again 20 minutes later to say she was screaming at him through the guest room door, but he wasn't backing down this time. On Monday morning, I dropped Lily off at school, and she practically bounced out of the car, clutching a folder of photos from the engagement party. Her teacher called me that afternoon to tell me Lily had done a full presentation for show and tell about being chosen as the flower girl, complete with pictures of everyone in their sparkles. The teacher said Lily seemed more confident than she had all year, standing up straighter and speaking with a clear, strong voice. That night, we had a family meeting with our 2 biological children, who were 13 and 15. They sat on either side of Lily on the couch as we explained everything that had happened with Cynthia. Our oldest son got up and paced the room, his fists clenched at the injustice of what his aunt had done. Our 13-year-old daughter wrapped her arm around Lily and said that if anyone ever messed with her little sister again, they'd have to go through her first. Lily's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were happy ones as her siblings squeezed her between them in a protective sandwich. The next day, Cynthia's teenage son asked to video chat with us after school. He looked tired when he appeared on the screen and immediately asked if he could still come to the wedding even if his mom couldn't. We assured him he was absolutely welcome, and we watched the tension leave his shoulders. He admitted he'd been fighting with Cynthia every day about how she was treating Lily, even showing us screenshots of their text arguments where he called her out for being cruel. He said his younger siblings were just as angry with their mom and had been giving her the silent treatment for days. 2 weeks before the wedding, we went to the venue for Lily's flower girl rehearsal. She wore her actual dress and practiced walking down the aisle a dozen times, her confidence growing with each pass. Claire, the venue manager, watched from the side, making notes on where to position the extra security on the wedding day. She showed us the side entrances they would be monitoring and explained their protocol for handling any unwanted guests. Lily perfected her petal-throwing technique, creating a perfect, even trail of rose petals from the back doors all the way to the altar. That night, Mark called to say Cynthia had finally agreed to go to one counseling session, though she insisted it was only to prove to the therapist that she was right about everything. He sounded cautiously hopeful that a professional might be able to get through to her in a way the family couldn't. Mark said he would be driving her to the appointment himself on Thursday to make sure she actually went. On Saturday morning, Lily set up her art supplies on the dining room table and announced she was making personal thank you cards for everyone who had worn sparkles for her. She worked for 6 hours straight, creating 32 unique cards with hand-drawn pictures of each person in their sparkly attire. We spent Sunday afternoon addressing envelopes, with Lily meticulously writing each name in her best penmanship. She insisted on putting extra stickers on the cards for Cynthia's children, thanking them for being so supportive. We walked to the mailbox together, and Lily kissed each envelope before dropping it inside. That evening, Mark texted. The therapy session had taken an unexpected turn. The therapist had apparently been very direct with Cynthia, explaining that her behavior could be considered harassment and that she could face legal consequences if she continued. Cynthia had gone completely silent for the rest of the session and hadn't spoken a word on the entire drive home. Mark said she had locked herself in their bedroom, and he could hear her crying through the door. The following week, Evelyn called to check in on Lily, saying she was making fantastic progress. She suggested we schedule a few family therapy sessions to help all of us process the recent events together. Lily overheard the conversation and immediately asked if Grandma could come to one of the sessions. She said Grandma's support had meant the world to her, and she wanted to thank her properly. We scheduled the family session for the next Tuesday, and my mother-in-law cleared her entire day to be there. The therapy room felt small with all of us squeezed onto the couches, but Lily insisted on sitting right between me and Grandma. Evelyn guided us through a conversation about how the situation had affected each of us. When it was Grandma's turn to speak, her voice broke as she talked about how proud she was of the way Lily had handled Cynthia's cruelty with such grace. She spoke about her pride in Lily's strength and resilience, wiping tears from her own cheeks. Lily turned to face her and asked quietly if she could just call her Grandma from now on. My mother-in-law wrapped Lily in her arms and just sobbed, saying she had been her grandmother from the very beginning. By that point, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Even Evelyn had to grab a tissue from her desk. We spent the rest of the session talking about what family really means, that it isn't defined by blood or adoption papers, but by the daily choice to show up and love one another. 5 days before the wedding, I received a short text from Cynthia. It just said she would not be attending and would not be causing any trouble. Mark called a few minutes later to confirm that she had booked herself a weekend at a spa for the same dates. He sounded immensely relieved, as he said she had finally accepted that staying away was better than risking another public scene. We spent the rest of the week getting Lily's dress altered one last time and practicing her petal throwing in the backyard. She would toss handfuls of rose petals from her little white basket, then run to scoop them all up and try again. The wedding rehearsal 2 days later went off without a hitch, with Lily beaming as she walked down the practice aisle. The photographer, who had come early to scout locations, couldn't stop taking pictures of her practicing with her basket. She would pause at each row of chairs to make sure everyone got an equal share of petals, and the photographer captured every adorable moment. Mark arrived at the rehearsal dinner that night with Cynthia's children, who immediately ran to Lily with more handmade cards. Mark came over to me and quietly mentioned that Cynthia had actually helped them make the cards, even though she couldn't bring herself to come. The kids swarmed Lily at her table, showing her all the glitter and stickers they'd used to write "Good luck, flower girl" on each one. On the morning of the wedding, Lily insisted on wearing her full flower girl outfit, including the beautiful tiara from the engagement party. She stood in front of the mirror in my bedroom, adjusting it just so, and asked me to take a picture that she could show her own kids someday. I took about 20 photos as she posed from different angles, making sure the tiara caught the light just right. We arrived at the venue early so Lily could have one last practice run before the guests started to arrive. During the ceremony, Lily walked down the aisle, tossing petals with practiced precision and smiling at every person she passed. When she reached the altar, Chloe pulled her into a deep hug before Lily took her spot next to the other bridesmaids. She stood perfectly still throughout the entire ceremony, clutching her now empty basket as Chloe and her new husband said their vows. At the reception, during the toasts, Mark stood up and spoke directly to Lily, telling her how lucky the whole family was to have her. Lily's face absolutely lit up when he called her his niece and said how proud he was to be her uncle. Later, during the dancing, Cynthia's teenage son walked up to Lily and asked her for a special dance in front of everyone. He shouted over the music that she was the best cousin ever, and soon the other kids joined in, forming a big circle. They all danced around Lily, who was twirling in the center, her tiara flashing under the party lights. During a slow song, my mother-in-law came over to me and told me that Cynthia had watched the entire wedding on a live stream from her spa retreat. She hadn't commented on anything, but she had watched from beginning to end, which felt like a small step in the right direction. Near the end of the night, Lily finally fell asleep in my arms, exhausted from all the excitement, still wearing her tiara. Even in her sleep, she was clutching her flower basket and had a peaceful smile on her face. Chloe came by and whispered that Lily had made the day absolutely perfect and that she couldn't imagine it without her. 2 weeks after the wedding, a card arrived for Lily in Cynthia's handwriting. Inside, it simply said, "Congratulations on being a beautiful flower girl," with Cynthia's signature at the bottom. Lily stared at it for a long time before asking if she could write back and say thank you. We helped her compose a short note, and at the bottom, she drew a picture of the entire family, including Cynthia, all standing together. Mark texted later to say that Cynthia had gotten the card and had started crying when she saw the drawing. 3 days later, Lily came to me with construction paper and colored pencils, asking if she could make a proper thank you note for Aunt Cynthia's card. We sat together at the kitchen table as she carefully wrote out each word in her best handwriting, erasing and rewriting until it was perfect. She drew another picture at the bottom of the entire family, standing in a line, and this time she drew Cynthia standing next to Mark, with a big smile on her stick figure face. I helped her address the envelope, and we walked to the mailbox, where she stood on her tiptoes to push it inside. Mark called that evening. He said Vanessa had received the note, and when she saw the drawing of herself included in the family picture, she had broken down in tears in their kitchen. One afternoon while Lily was at school, Mark stopped by to give us an update on Cynthia's progress. He sat at our kitchen counter, nursing a cup of coffee, and told us Cynthia had been going to therapy twice a week since the wedding. The therapist was helping her unpack some deep-seated issues from her own past. It turned out that Cynthia and Mark had been trying to adopt for over 2 years before Lily came into our lives, and they had been rejected by 3 different agencies for reasons that Cynthia took very personally. The therapist had explained to Mark that Cynthia's anger toward Lily was really misplaced grief and envy over their own failed adoptions. She was starting to understand that now, but she still had a long way to go. Mark said Cynthia wasn't ready to apologize in person yet, but she was finally working on herself, and that was a start. The next month was Lily's last scheduled appointment with Evelyn Ma. I drove her to the familiar office one last time. In stark contrast to the timid, terrified child who had first walked through those doors, Lily practically skipped into the waiting room. After the session, Evelyn called us both back in. She had a huge smile on her face as she handed Lily a certificate she had made, which read Certificate of Bravery, with Lily's name in beautiful calligraphy. Evelyn told us that Lily had developed incredible coping skills and no longer needed regular therapy, though the door was always open if anything ever came up. Lily hugged the certificate all the way home and immediately asked for tape to hang it on her bedroom wall, right next to her flower girl tiara. 6 months after the disastrous engagement party, my mother-in-law invited everyone to a 4th of July cookout at her house. Mark had let us know that Cynthia would be there, and it would be the first time we would all be in the same space since the wedding. We talked it over with Lily beforehand, and she bravely agreed to go. When we arrived, Cynthia was already there, sitting quietly at a picnic table in the corner of the yard. She looked up when we walked in but said nothing, just offered a small, hesitant nod before looking back down at her drink. Lily stuck close to my side at first, but she gradually relaxed when it became clear Cynthia was not going to approach her or say anything cruel. The kids all played together in the sprinkler while the adults grilled burgers, and for the most part, it felt almost normal, though Cynthia and I maintained a wide berth. She left early without saying goodbye, but Mark told us later that for her, just showing up and not causing a scene was a major breakthrough. In September, I got a call from Lily's teacher. She had won the school's citizenship award for an essay she wrote on the topic, What Family Means. The awards ceremony was the following Friday morning, and I immediately started texting the family. My mother-in-law said she wouldn't miss it for the world. Chloe rescheduled a work meeting, and Mark took the morning off to be there. Nearly the entire family showed up, taking up a whole row of folding chairs in the gymnasium. When Lily's name was called, she walked up to the podium and read her essay aloud. She spoke about how family isn't about blood, it's about the people who choose to love you and show up for you every single day. I was crying. Chloe was crying. Even my husband was wiping his eyes. Mark had his phone out, recording the whole thing, and I saw him send a text right after she finished. That evening, I received a text from Cynthia. She said Mark had sent her the video and that Lily's essay was beautiful. Mark texted me separately to say that was the first time Cynthia had said something unequivocally positive about Lily, and he saw it as a huge step forward in her healing. Christmas came, and it was our turn to host. Vanessa and Mark arrived with gifts, and I watched as Vanessa took a separately wrapped box from her bag and walked over to where Lily was sitting by the tree. She handed it to her, saying only, "This is for you," before turning to help in the kitchen. Lily unwrapped it carefully to find a beautiful, sparkly picture frame. Tucked inside was a small note that read, "For your favorite family photo." Without a word, Lily ran to her room and came back with the photo from the engagement party, the one of her in her full sparkle and rainbow glory, surrounded by the entire beaming family. She carefully slid it into the frame. Later that night, long after everyone had gone home, I was helping Lily hang the new frame on her bedroom wall, right next to her flower girl tiara and her certificate of bravery. Standing there, looking at that wall of memories from one of the most insane years of our lives, I knew without a doubt that our family was finally, truly complete.